Well, I've just arrived at the Ulster Folk Transport Museum, the upper museum, which has all the old buildings, and this is these buildings have been taken from up and down the country. They've been taken brick by brick and rebuilt. The bricks were actually numbered, and then the whole building was put together again. And this is Easter Monday, and the place is absolutely jam-packed. This is not a good day to come here. So this is Cultra Place, just here, and then the old hall up here. This is a street that was taken from Dromore, County Down, and conditions were pretty rough to live in it. Old barn church down there, and again another form of house with a frontage placed on it, again at the other end of Cultra Place. And coming down to Mill Street here, old shops, a draper, a dispensary and hardware shop, and then the pub beside the church and the priest's house. So old tools and all the rest of it in the window, pickaxe there. And the place is coming down with people, and this is the chapel. And I'm at the drapers, and just thought I'd show you this wee Easter egg display. And we're looking into the village square here, terrace houses there in front of us, then John Kelly coal merchant, and they're practicing their skipping, attach it to a lamppost, and then looks like a Presbyterian Church in the background there, and then we've got the bank up at the back, and the printers just on round here. And this courtyard has been used in a few films and whatnot. So there you have it, and I'm just going to show you what do you call that? The turf. This was the main thing that they used for heat, and it was dug out of the local bog and left to dry and then cut. Turf, and it made a brilliant fire. There's the Presbyterian Church on round. There's the picture house. There's the photographers. There's the tea room, and there's the backs of the terrace house there, the wee yard. And plenty of people about. And this is an old pump. What you did was you turned these wheels and the water skated out down here, and this was where the village pump, where people just got their water. No water supply delivered to houses like it is today. Village pump. And I'm just looking up Cultra Place, and I'm just looking at this particular shop here. It's the most used shop in the whole locality. It's the sweetie shop, and there's Sunlight. Do you remember Sunlight soap? My goodness. And there's Zebra Great Polish. My goodness. And here's the two ladies here suitably dressed for the occasion. And let's go in and have a wee look and see what is on offer here. and there would be about it'd be about 60 different varieties of old-fashioned sweets here, probably sweets that you just couldn't, well, you can get hold of some of these still, but a lot of these sweets are probably not easy to buy. And then we've got all the old boxes and packages and whatnot up here as well. Toddy's tobacco. Claire's Navy Cut, do you remember that? My goodness, it takes you back. Cold on starch. Lifebuoy soap. My goodness. And all the various cigarettes and the cartons there. Will's Navy Cut. My goodness. And then Marsh & Co high class biscuits. Jacob's biscuits. My goodness. Handmade traditional butter fudge. I'll not be eating any of that today. And all sorts of different types of lollipop stick to break your teeth. Not a good idea. And here's the wee measuring, the old traditional way of measuring it out. And that's about it. Where would you access your sweets from? I mean, can you access them locally?
Well, Aunt Sandra's on the Castlereagh Road would provide the likes of the lollipops.
Of course. Just beside the post office, just a quick look, is the police station. And it was Royal Irish Constabulary. And I'm downstairs in the police station, and sergeant's room just in there, and the cells. This is where you would have stayed if you had been a bad boy or a bad girl. En-suite facilities, of course. Of information on an illicit still, a potching still that has been discovered, and there's the boys lifting it. And here's an even older RIC man with his mode of transport, a penny farthing bicycle. And this would have been a typical policeman of the day, RIC, Royal Irish Constable or Constabulary. And this is the uniform of the RUC. And here's an old Triumph police motorbike.
You can get them online, it's about it.
There's your local RIC officer. And that's the uniform he would have worn. How doing? How about you?
The sound's not on and then I'm busy complaining here.
Not at all, not at all. I wouldn't have sound on it.
I thought that was a gun for a minute. I was about to get my baton out here.
Oh, well, your baton? Oh, no. And we're on Chapel Lane. And this is Ballycultra National School, 1836. Looking on up to other buildings there, there's several thatched cottages and townhouses, and you can see some of them through the trees there. A lot of work involved in maintaining these. And this is the actual chapel here, just coming down to the entrance. And holy water to bless yourself with, and paintings on the walls, pews, and Our Lady. And here we have it. The church was originally situated in Selsham Townland in County Armagh, dedicated to John the Baptist, and was built to serve the Catholic parish of Drumcree, 1783. And a nice mosaic on the floor. A lot of work restoring this and rebuilding it here. And sculpture of Christ up there, and all the brass. And there's a wee balcony upstairs as well. Now you wouldn't get any of this, you know, these extras, these paintings and these sculptures and stuff. You wouldn't get that in a Protestant church at all. There's the old Tilly type lamps, oil lamps. And this might have been incense, I don't know. There's the organ up above. Now, I think this might be a Church of Ireland, actually. Not too sure. And this is actually a Church of Ireland. I've just discovered that. It's Kilmore Church from Church of Ireland, 1790, from Kilmore in County Down. Inside this, I'm not sure whether it's a Presbyterian or a Church of Ireland. There's the baptismal font in the corner, and you can notice the box family pews here. This is very, very similar to the church that I was raised in for my first 17 years. You don't get pews like this anymore anywhere. And then the lectern or the pulpit up at the front there, and the whole thing was heated by a massive big stove like this. It was very, very cold, and you notice that there's no pictures, or there's no sculptures, or there's no crucifixes or anything around the church. And this is the old rectory. The ministers at that time, a lot of them lived very, very well. So this is his family house, Protestant. The priest's house, pretty good too. Notice the small windows, because there was a tax in those days on glass. So they made the windows as small as possible to avoid paying the glass tax. Thatched roof, of course. A lot of work going into that, and a kitchen garden out the front with spaces and stuff like that. It is, and I'm just showing you the fireplace here. This is top of the range fireplace, and there's the turf smoking away, and there's the cooking pots and what have you. And it's very smoky and it's very dark, and there's the Welsh dresser not. So here, this is the old rectory. There's a door, and there's a whole lot of other rooms here, but I'm not going into them. There's the old. Maybe put water, or if your luck was in, you had whiskey in that. So there's soda bread. And there's the old dishes and whatnot. And this was a house of a well-to-do person, the minister. So you can imagine what the poor people lived in. And here we have a pantry with all the bits and pieces that you need to do the cooking. And this is an old jawbone sink. And people are actually putting these into their brand new houses. so the fad has come around again. And we're told to look up, because the roof above your head is over 300 years old, and it was an oak roof. And it was discovered in Coleraine. Now, this was not the normal Irish way of doing roofs. This is typical English, and it has survived from 1674 apparently. There you go, and it caused a sensation whenever it was first discovered in Coleraine, and it has been moved down here. It's of historic value. It's a butt purlin roof. Butt purlin roof. Saddle joints and butt purling and wind, whatever that is, for anybody who's a woodworker. And then the saddle joints, I remember making things like that in woodwork, and they're the devil's own job to make. And a wind brace down here. There you go. These boys were talented. They had to produce everything locally. We have the reading room, and the main item of significance here is again the roof. This is a 17th century roof of architectural significance, and it was taken out of Coleraine again. So there you are. Survived the test of time. There's a wee boat sitting in the corner. The old piano. And this is Ballydown National School, primary school. Two teacher school, but just the one room with the toilets out the back. And my father actually taught in this school in 1935. He looked after the P4s, P5, P6, P7s at one side of the room, and the P1, 2 and 3 were at the other side of the room. And I can remember the men coming to Ballydown just outside Banbridge and taking this school building down brick by brick. They numbered every brick, and they stopped work because they came across a wee nest of a bird, and the work was delayed for 3 weeks until the birds had nested and fledged. Very solid granite blocks used here. And there's the old toilets, boys to one side, girls to the other side out the back. And the coal for the fire. The children used to bring coal for the fire, and then they got to sit up close to the fire. And as I said, this school sat outside Ballydown Presbyterian Church, just outside Banbridge, until I think it was taken down in the early 60s. And here we have the date, 1865, Ballydown Public Elementary School, and it was an old national school. In here there's lots of people about the place, but never mind. (1965) it says there. Not much room about the place. My father would have sat here. There are a lot of children about the place. And I've just come across this semicircle of nails bashed into the floor, and the children would have come up here and stood with their toes on this line here with their reading books or their spelling books or whatever, and that would have given rise to the phrase, "You've got to toe the line, boy." In other words, if you don't behave yourself, you'll get some extra work or wherever. Some of these posters on the wall actually date from right back then. I'm just standing outside an old forge, and this is the type of stuff that the Bollyw is making, and there are very, very few old gates and wheels and rollers. I'm coming now. And here's an old plough. And this type of gate here. This is the master at his work here. The old forge. And there are very, very few of these boys about. And he's making pokers. There's his anvil. And he's using the bellows to heat the fire up. This is some of his work. Quite intricate. More tilly lamp. And a wee broom. Very, very few of these master forgers left. Totally dying art, but in the old 100 years ago they were all over the place.
I can go into a bin next to it now.
If you turn from that way, you'll see.
And I'm just at Coal Island Spade Mill, and here's the water wheel that would have driven, given the power for the mill. And these are willow branches, and they would be fashioned to make creels for catching lobster and other sorts of baskets. And they would have made this kind of structure here as well. And then the woodworker. Everything had to be handmade. There was no machines or anything in those days.
Decent, doesn't it?
It does, sure.
And that looks like a boat up in the corner.
Just building up this basket, it's going to be the same as the one on the table when we get it finished. It's a traditional fishing basket. It's a style that was used to trap eels.
So that's sort of been in round Loch Ness.
Found all over, yep. Loch Ness is a big area for it, obviously. We're found all over the country.
There'll be very, very few boys like you able to do this.
Well, really these haven't been used to any great extent from the 1950s. The fishing changed, much more commercialised, and these are no longer any good way of fishing. They're not durable. You're only going to get a season out of the best.
Right.
So it's not practical really.
And who taught you how to do it?
Well, I was very lucky and got to study with two real masters of the craft. Most basket makers today are really self-taught. There's very little structured learning left in the craft.
Yes.
What used to be a 5-year apprenticeship, it's long gone.
Well, good luck to you. Thanks very much. And I'm just coming up to the Farm and Food exhibition, which deals with the history of farming and its effects in the Ulster landscape, and important crops and livestock are displayed. And this is an ard plough pulled by horses. Pulled by the blooming horse's tail. Look at that. Different forms of ploughing. It's a wee bit dark in here, so I hope you can see this. And there's another. This is an old Irish long beamed plough. And this is a competition plough and a morn lay drill. There's a lot of stuff here, folks. You need to come up and see it for yourself. Old long beamed plough and a swing plough. Because just showing it on the video doesn't do it justice. And there's the people working in their bare feet. My goodness. He's got the boots on and she's only got the bare feet. Tells you something, doesn't it? What's this? Wooden harrows, bushel, granite roller. It's all here, folks. And there's a big granite roller there. Broadcast grass seed sower. That's what that is. And there's a seed tray and a dibbler. Dibbler and a seed fiddle. Aye, that's what my mate Sturdy was telling me about, the fiddler for spreading the seed. And there's the boy actually doing it. My goodness. And there's different grubbing, hand operated drill. There's a boy showing you how it's done. And this is a horse drawn seed drill and a turnip sower and a grubber. Flax pulling machine. My father would have worked on one of these. Flax pulling machine, and there's an operation. You could have lost your hand very quick on one of these machines. My goodness. Pulling flax. My father used to talk about pulling flax to make linen. And there's the spade, the way that they would have taken the tops of the turf. Healthy potato tuber. There we go. And this is a potato digger. And this is the flax again. Reaping with a sickle. No, it isn't the flax. I'm trying to. A horse-drawn hay rake. There we have it. And you would have sat up on that contraption. And if you'd have fell back into it, that was good night, Sergeant Major. And the different tools and sickle and hook with a fork, blah, blah, blah. Reaping machine and tilt rake. And then they brought in the mechanisation. And there's a harvester. Lopping hay. There you go, lopping hay. There's the different breeds of, there's a large white Ulster pig. And there's a grey hound pig and a Cushendall hill pony. And an Irish draft horse and an Irish mild cow and a carry cattle and longhorn cattle and mourn sheep. There's lots to see up here, folks, lots to see. Butter churn, a plunge, churn and dash. And then these are different. There's potato bread being made, and there's a wheaten fowl, an Irish stew, and soda bread, and bacon and ham. These were the staples of the diet at that time. And this is the way, there's the corn dollies and all the rest of it. And this is what they would have made. So they would. Barn fans. And there's a barn riddle. I've got something similar at home. And this is a barn threshing machine and a hand pedal threshing machine. And here we have a typical Irish type house, thatched roof, whitewashed walls. And this is a cottier's house apparently. Again, notice the small windows. And note the thatch on the roof. that has been roped down. And note also the half door that characterises so many of these old farmhouses. And there's their stone hedges. And this is Bollyw Farm from the Moorings. They must have been involved in a bit of spinning at one time. This farmhouse dates from the 1840s and was used by 3 or 4 different generations, and was only recently removed to the Folk Museum. I'm round to the farm here, and I'm just showing you some of the old farm vehicles. Looks like a jaunting cart in round there. And this is an old farm pump. No running water inside, no electricity, all lit by tilly lamps and turf, and water drawn from the pump outside the old farm down here. And there should be chickens running about the place, but there's not. And a fine example of old gate posts just outside this farm here, where the animals actually slept in underneath the living accommodation, and that was actually to give heat to those sleeping above.
Dad, it's like Niagara Falls going down there.
Again, the prolific use of whitewash. And this is the state of some of the houses that people actually lived in. And this is the house, obviously the house is being taken down, 1995. And living conditions were pretty rough and pretty Spartan. There wasn't much heat about, and it was all dark and gloomy. And this is, I'm inside a wee house in Lower Bangor. And here's the bedroom. Here's the bedroom conditions. Absolutely shocking. And this house just was got a one living room with a bed off it, and then all your kitchen stuff, and you would have cooked over the fire, and then another bedroom in here, and very little else.